Here we are, episode 18 of Setting the Scene. I'm your host, David, and I am building this board for a World Eaters Raven Guard game that's happening tomorrow, which is a Sunday. I've just bid farewell to Mark and Alex, who have played their 3K game, Salamander versus Word Bearers, which went really, really well. Really good, close, tight game, which was really cool. So they've gone, I've packed their board away, and I've started to build the other board. So a couple of things to talk about this one, nothing crazy. This will be very short, I promise you. Now, if you remember, I think in the last one I said that I'd purchased some new rocks. Well, these are the new rocks, 40 quid's worth of rock. And I was very, very particular in the rock that I chose. I wanted large, long, flat rock to create this exact battlefield, or rather this kind of design. So I really wanted like a low-lying rocks with flat portions in it. So this game, I really want to stay away from any terrain. I want to try and keep it, any of the Games Workshop terrain, or the Unreal Wargaming Studios terrain. I just want it to be rock and aggregate. Might put a couple of little bits in just to give it a frame of reference. But this is the board I really wanted to build. So I kind of want two forces to work around the terrain a little bit. They can still go over, which is no problem at all, but there is a ton of line of sight blocking terrain in this. So if you're an infantry model or even a dreadnought, which the forces comprise of mainly in this game, if you're in this kind of valley section, which kind of circles the board, you are getting no line of sight to the side of the board. There's massive rocks in the way. And by the time we had a couple of crates, only a couple maybe, and then the aggregate on top, you know, you really got to work hard for your position here. I know there's a load of Mordathan in the Raven Guard, so there'll be a bit of shooting. But I think it's going to be a really interesting game. And this is the sort of board I really wanted to build, not necessarily for this game, but kind of in general, and then maybe adapt it as we go along. So all I've done is I've planted all of these big rocks right in the middle and created a bit of a dog leg, it looks almost, and then a big rock over here. So whoever chooses the deployment zone will have to think really hard about the list and their opponent's list, because there is some higher ground available straight away, obviously depending on the deployment zone, much more readily available than the other opponent. So it's really interesting. And then all I've done is I've just added these rocks. There's these bits of slate, or rock slate, whatever you want to call it. And I've just dotted them around the board. So when the aggregate goes on, they will help to contour the battlefield and bridge the gap between the kind of the height of each rock. And then also give me a little bit of undulation in the board. I'm going to use that slate chips again and really reinforce the edge of this. I'm going to try and create a bit of a valley, a very shallow valley, but try and get a bit of a shallow valley into the board. So I'm really looking forward to this myself personally. So that'll be really cool. All I'm going to do now is just add all the aggregate and then a couple of Games Workshop models. It's going to be a super quick board this time. I'm not going to talk too much about it because you've seen me build boards so many times. Let's get on with it. All right, as an initial kind of roughing out, I'm really happy with that. I really, really am. It's very, very open, and I know that. It's consciously open. I think the list we've got coming tomorrow, we've got a classic shooty list against a classic assault list. And I know what you're saying, oh, well, it's a bit unfair for you to have loads of line of sight so the assault army can get shot at. Okay, that's fair enough. I agree with you. But I think it will all be about the deployment type. So my personal opinion is I'm kind of thinking hammer and anvil, or maybe the Vanguard strike, which I think would be really cool. But obviously it depends on the day. We never really decide that until the day. We have a chat to the opponents, to the guests rather, and then have a look at their armies for proper when we've got them right next to each other. The beauty we've got is that the two guys coming tomorrow know each other, and they've played quite a few games against each other. I am going to put something here just to give us a little bit of line of sight. I like the idea of the 40k Imperial Bastion just sat on there, maybe a couple of the Aegis defense lines and some crates. I really like that idea, kind of, just kind of here, and then maybe some crates. But I think that's all I'm going to put down. Now that might change. The guys might come tomorrow and go, oh, well, this is a horrendously open board, can't deal with that. Then of course I'll add some terrain. But at the moment, that's all I'm thinking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the Bastion down and a few other bits, and then I'm going to go in with a little slate and just kind of soften, I wouldn't say soften, but just maybe add a little bit more texture and interest to the rest of the rock formations as they meet the black aggregate, just to help blend them in a little bit easier. I think that is it. I mean, that was super fast and really, really simple, but I think it's really effective. I think it's one of those boards that, less is more. A cliche, but I really do believe that in this case. You've got this really big focal point here, and that green won't clash with the red, the white of the World Eaters and the black of the Raven Guard, and I think there's a lot of interest to be fighting over it. I really like this, I'm not going to lie. I really, really like it. Loved using the Aegis defense line. Don't tend to use them very often, as to me they feel a bit more 40k than they do 30k. I do love the original barricade set, the concrete barricade set, but wouldn't work in this situation. But it works perfectly in this instance. So as you saw, I just tried to blend the edge of the Aegis defense line around. I'm a little bit out of breath because I've spent the last God knows how long tidying the previous board up and humping rocks up and down the stairs, so I'm a little bit out of breath. So I apologise if I'm gulping for air. I think that's it. I think this board just needs to be super simple and let the armies tell the story about this. I just feel it's a little outpost that's all of a sudden drawn the attention of the Raven Guard and the World Eaters. So that's it. I'm going to call it done. If the guys arrive tomorrow morning and the board changes ever so slightly, then that's the reason why perhaps it is a bit too open. But I just think it's a classic opportunity to maybe do a shooty army against an assaulty army. And I don't think the shooty army is too devastating, because I think James will have to move those Mordathan around. The World Eaters, I think there's a Leviathan in there and there's a Dreadnought, whereas the Raven Guard haven't got anything like that, but they do have 7 plasma guns in the Raven Guard list. So, I think that'll be interesting. I don't think they're going to get a shot off in the first turn, so they'll either have to move or wait for the World Eaters to kind of crest over the top of one of those rocks or one of those mounds to get at them. But who knows? I have no idea what's going to happen, but I think it'll look pretty cool. I'm really happy with the board, as I've said multiple times now. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll do a load of photos at the end of this video so you can see a few snaps, and of course the game will go live along with the video. So watch the board build first, but I guess if you watched it already, then that's kind of there or not. But I really hope you've enjoyed it. Simplicity is the key. I'll see you in the next one.